Okay, so welcome to today's class. Today is day 8 and of our front-end bootcamp. I'm going to continue with the project that we have at hand that we started in day 7, which was yesterday. And I'm going to walk us again through the codes that we have written, and then we will complete it. We have completed the HTML part. We will complete the CSS part, and then we will do the JavaScript part, and then we will end for today. So hopefully we will have a working project. I'll start by showing us what we have done so far. This is what we have done so far, the mobile view, what we have done so far. This is it. And you were there yesterday, or if you have not watched that video, you can go back and watch it. Then this is the code that is producing that. Now, let me start from the HTML. There's a walkthrough in all of this. So we did the doc type HTML, and then each of the parts of the HTML is started from the scratch. Then we have the head. We linked to Font Awesome, which I showed you how to achieve that. We also have our own defined CSS style that we work with. Then the body is divided into 3 parts, which is the header, into 2 parts, sorry, the header and the name. We didn't bother to work on the header because we were following an example. If you wanted to work on the header, we can do that. In our previous classes, we have talked about how to do your navigation and work on the header. But in this one, we are just going to work on the main class that we have done before. And inside the main class, we have 2 divs, the length and the range form, that has the same class, flex item. And inside this one, we have just a H1 tag and a P tag. And then inside the red form, which is the registration form, we have an info. We have an info div, and then we have the form itself in a div. So these are the things that we did in the first class. I'm going to remove this because we don't need it. It's just for us to see this that is here. So I'm going to refresh. It's not supposed to show now. Just for us to see the sign of what we did there. So see the sample of what we did there. So the next thing we are going to, okay, let me just walk you through the codes, the password, the button, the terms and conditions, the P class, and as many as you can see here. So I move you over to the style. We started to design for mobile first, and we did all this. It shows a font family for the body, and then we style our flex container, then the flex items, and then the length, which is part of the first D in the main. So the length has a H1. Then we start the red form, the info part of the red form. I will start now. This shadow, box shadow, this is what it entails. The first value is horizontal. The second value is vertical. The third value is the blur effect. The fourth value is the radius, the spread radius, and then the color of the shadow. The same thing we did for the red. You have the red form, you have the red. This is the red. This is the D that is holding the form. So we say it should have a background of white, as you can see there, and all that, until we got to agreement, and we link in agreement the form. We designed the form to be flexible, and the flex should be in column. So all the inputs in the form, you also have this method. Then the inputs focus. When you focus on the input, what will happen? We change to red. We demonstrated all this in our previous class. Then we also work on the failure icon, on the success icon, and then we removed, we brought them out. We removed them because using that opacity. You can see what we have achieved so far. We demonstrated all this in the previous class. And then if you bring back the opacity code, it makes opacity 0, makes them to be hidden. So if I refresh it again, the exclamation and the success, the error and the success will go out. Now, before we continue, there's something that we need to add. And that thing that we need to add is to work, to do, remember, this is where our target is. So how do we bring these guys in? If you check our own, they are inside. So, and if you check the original one we want to work with, they are inside, but our own is outside. How do we do that? So that's the next thing we're going to do. That's the next thing that we will work on now. Okay, to work on that, we just go to icon. All of them have the same pattern with kind of an italics. This is another one of it, per check, which we have dealt with. But all the ones at the top, they have the same pattern. So we'll work on that. We can go up here. Before we started working on the failure icon, can come here and say dots. They are inside the div. So we can say dot form, or we can just say form dot please form div. Then I form div I. We say position. Remember. Let me remove. Let's remove this one, so that we'll see the effects of what we are doing. Position. Position. Let's add the people that are just joining. Okay. So position, we say absolute. Now, before this, let me clean it up. Before this, we need to see our form again. This is how our form is. This is how our form is. Now, this is what we want to do. Let's remove everything that is here first so that we really see the effects of that. So I'm going to remove everything that is here. Well, it doesn't really matter. Let's leave it. I want to remove only this one. So let's go back. Position, absolute. So let's go and check what we have. You have seen it. All of them are now inside. You're seeing that the success is now covering the other one. So in JavaScript, we will now say the one we want to be displayed. But we will not just end it there. Let's add padding to it to make sure that it is adding it to padding. I say 10 pixel, 20 pixel, 10 pixel, 10 pixel. What are we trying to say is that top, right, bottom, left. You know, that's what those margin means. So if we go back and refresh, you see that it is now at the middle. Now, the only addition, the only thing we did in our last class that I removed was this, so that we can see the effects of what we are doing. Now that we are seeing the effect, we can refresh. And then we have this already. Please, if you have a question, go ahead and ask. If you have a question, go ahead and ask. You can raise your hand and ask the question if you have a question. But if there is no question, we'll continue. If there's no question, we'll continue. Now that we have achieved all those things, the next thing we can do here is our button, the registration button. Registration button, let's see the name that we gave to it. Okay, let's give the registration button a let's give it a class. Call it register BOOTCAMP. Register BOOTCAMP. So I'll copy it and go to my CSS dot register BOOTCAMP. Then I'll style the background. From the one we saw here, background is green. So we're going to take green background. The color of the text is the color of the text is white. So color. And the next thing is padding. Let's do 16 pixel by 20 pixel. Add margin 8 pixel 0. Then we add border. These are some you can do for your say none. Is it compulsory? No. You can just put it for statics, depending on what you want to achieve. Also, let's use the pointer. Let's make it as the other one, 98, the other, the input, 98%. Opacity, 0.9. Border, radius. Because the edges are curved, border radius, 8. Pixels. Box shadow, 2 pixel. Number 2 pixel, 4 pixel, origin 3A, 0, 0, 1. Transition, all 0.1 x. So these are some of the things you can do to a button, and you will have it like this. Okay. Then let's add one more thing to this button. And create this registration button on hover. Opacity to be 1. So if you look at the registration button, opacity will say 0.9. If you hover, it will come up. That is what we are trying to say. You can increase it or reduce it, depending on what you want to achieve. Now, we are done with the mobile aspect. So how do you now add media query to make sure that it works with when the screen is large? See what we're trying to say. If I change the screen to large, it will just fill everywhere and it may look scattered. But we want that if somebody is using a laptop, this part should be on this side. Like if I change this one, you see how it works if you are using a laptop. But if it's mobile, it will change its nature. So, but if you look at our own, it has not been able to achieve that. So that is the next thing we want to achieve. So we still go on and add media queries. So we say to add media query, we say add media only screen. Let's work on only screen for now. And the minimal width is equal to 550 pixels. Let's give it a rule. That is we are trying to position this for tablets. See, we started from phone, and then we are moving into tablets. We're moving into tablets. We say the body will have a background when it is set. Say the background should be background color should be white. Padding. Padding top should be 3%. Then another thing we can add, we have to come outside the body. Another thing we can add is we work on the flex container. I would say this time around, the width should be 80% instead of 98%. Please be careful with percentage if there's a need to do that, instead of putting a pixel like we made a mistake the other time. Imagine also to centralize it. Equal spacing at both sides. Remember that. Equal spacing at both sides. Please remember that that's what this does. Then we now say display flex. Now add flex direction. Row. In the mobile, flex direction is column. Here, flex direction is row. Then background, image, URL, images, images. Remember, it didn't work. Images. Let's use the desktop phone this time around. Okay. What do you guys think? I think a tablet is still mobile, sort of. So let's still use tablets. Let's use the mobile background. Let's use the mobile background. And then the last thing we can do here is to work on learn. Text align. Left. So let's see what we have done. We'll refresh. Then we change the size of the screen. I hope you can see that we have it here already. We have it for ourselves. You may say, okay, you don't want it that way. Why don't we say it should be center? Why don't we use center? So let's refresh. Okay, I think I prefer this center. Now we have it for this and for this. Let's assume that our screen is wider, like we have it now. Our screen is wider. It may not give us the taste that we're looking for. So if our screen is wider, we're supposed to make it smaller. So let's go back again and see whether we can do something different, assuming we have a wider screen. Assuming we have a wider screen of, say, We can also work on the input here, or maybe let's leave this one. We'll use it for that of the wider screen. Let's work on the input from the input. Let's work on the width. 98%. Okay. Now we can also pick another type of screen. Can also pick another type of screen. Say at media only screen and minimum width is equal to, this time around, a bigger screen is equals to 768 pixel. And we bring in all those things that we have before. We just change them to see different. I'll bring in that of the body. I'll bring in that of the body. So for desktop, so when it changes to desktop, let's do black. The size of the screen is like that. Let's do 5%. What other thing can we work on? Let's also work on the flex body. You can work on many things. I'm just using this one as example. You can work on many things. When the screen is bigger, to make our form very beautiful, we can say this time around we're going for 60%. Margin will remain auto, flex, and all that. But we are not going to change this image to reflect that of the desktop. Then we can decide to say this time around, let's see what we can do with the length. Can do again text align. So basically with this, we are done at this point. We are done with, you can see when the screen is bigger, the background is black. When the screen is smaller, it changes its way. When the screen is bigger. Now, if I try to reduce this screen also, if I try to reduce this screen, you see that it is now white, but it has not changed to mobile. This is like as if it is a tablet. If I change it more and more, it becomes mobile. So you see that it is responsive and it is behaving based on the rules that you have given to it. Any question at this point? Any question? Any question? Because from here, we are moving to JavaScript to implement JavaScript on this form. Any question? Okay. So let's move to JavaScript. So to add JavaScript to this form, we just need to create a form, create JavaScript. please, but not inside CSS. So I'm going to close it. I'll just click out. You can put it inside the folder, but for now, let us can call it main.javascript, main.js. I press enter. Now, this main.js, we are supposed to link it to whatever we are doing. We are supposed to link it to our page. And how do you do that? Linking the JavaScript to your page. We'll talk about that. We'll also start implementing, adding the JavaScript, to the page so that it will work very well. So first of all, we know that this JavaScript is external JavaScript. So okay, so let's go to our HTML and add the script first. So you have you can add it anywhere, or maybe let's add it at the down parts of the page. Let's add it at the down part of the page. And come here after the body, place script. So if we add that already, the next thing we'll go inside the start tag and type stuff equal to main.js. So when we do this, we can now go to main.js to add some things. So this is the first thing we are going to do. First, we need to target all our classes and ID from the HTML and from the HTML page inside the JavaScript. What I'm trying to say is that we need to bring all the HTML, all the classes and IDs in HTML into the JavaScript so that we can use them to do one thing. So we need to bring them in. Okay, so to do this, we write the following. So to do this, just writing this thing for in case you're not hearing me very well. To do this task efficiently, make these two function. Okay, so the first function we are going to do is let ID be equal to ID. So this is an arrow function. Document dot get element by ID. ID. The next one is let classes equal to classes. Document dot get element by class name. Then store the classes and ID into these variables that we can work with. So we can do them one by one, or we'll do all of them together at the same time. And we'll end it. So we're going to do all of them. Let F name be equal to ID F underscore name, comma, L name equal to ID L underscore name. Email equal to ID email. Sorry, you are supposed to be in. Okay, password ID form ID and add a few error message equals to classes. Remember, we have a div called error. Process icon equals to classes. Process icon. Then failure icon equals to classes. failure icon. Please let me check the name we gave to them so that we're not making mistake. Error failure icon is hyphen, not underscore. So I'll go back and correct it. Because all these things matter a lot. We were able to do this. We have been able to bring all these. Please watch. I used one let to declare this whole thing. So I am going to end the last one with a semicolon. So the next thing we're going to do is to add an event listener to the form. Form dot add event listener. When the submit button is clicked, when the submit button is clicked, we do an in function dot prevent before. And then you check input. We'll create a function that will check input. Then the function must end with a semicolon. So, but for us to continue, let's go back to our HTML. Let's go back to our HTML and add on submit to our form. So we'll continue. So on the form tag, after method, we write on submit is equal to return validation form. We'll create this validation form. We'll create this validation form function as we go ahead. So let's continue. So the next thing is let's create a function that checks our input check input. That's the function we want to create. First, we are going to trim to remove white spaces. If somebody enters something like this, space, blah, 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 space, we remove all the space that are at the both edges. And how do you do that? You can do that with a constant in JavaScript and say fname value is equal to fname dot value dot value dot value dot string. We'll do this for all of them. Constant. Last name value equals to name dot value dot string. Constant again. Email value and password value. Those are the next one we are going to do. So we have been able to do it in such a way that white spaces will go out. So that is the little check. You can do many other things in check. So the next thing we are going to add is to now start processing the font and checking whether there is something there that is empty. So we can start with if f name value is equal to empty. Let's pass the message. Set error for f name. First name cannot be empty. First name cannot be empty. Else, else, check process for f name sorry. So we do that for all of them. I'll just copy, paste, then I'll just be changing the messages. So one name, name. Let's continue. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this was where we are, and I'm trying to correct it. Say last name cannot be empty. last name cannot be empty. So we also make here one, the last name. So I've done that. We do the same for email and password. I'll just copy it. Remember that we are setting the error messages. So email value, email cannot be empty. So we do true. And the last but not the least, password. So it says here password cannot be empty. Uh, okay. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this set error that is a function, let's work on that function. You can see the way we are progressing. We had a function here that is to check for a submit, whether a submit button has been clicked on, and then it will check inputs. We have looked at to check the inputs. What we just want to do in the checking of inputs is to trim the edges, to remove white spaces. You can do many other things here, but for now, let's leave it at that. Then, if there are errors, we want these errors to display. And from the way we presented the set error, you know that it has two values. One is the name of the div, the name of the input, and then a value of 0 or 1 or 2 or 3, and then the message. But if it is the success, set success for this, we will have only the name of the div and a value attached to it. So we go ahead to create that function. So function set error for. Set error for is expecting inputs, setting the parameters now, and a serial, number, and a message. That is what it is expecting. And when it gets that message, what is it looking for? It will send error message with the serial number dot inner HTML equal to message. Then the input dot style dot border. Change it to 2 pixel, solid, and red. Sorry, let's put this in first. This is now CSS coming in. Failure. Failure icon in Syria dot style dot opacity is equal to 1. Success icon Syria dot style dot opacity equal to 0. What are we saying here? That when you get this information, each of these, we have already assigned value to each of these inputs that we have. So if it gets the input, it will go to where error message is. Each of them have error message. We have already said that error message should be for class error, and each of them have class error. This is class error. I will call this class error for F name to be 0. And so if 0 comes in, it will pick it and then display this error that says first name cannot be empty in here. And then if you change the border to 2 pixel and red, and opacity of the failure icon will now be 1, while the opacity of the success icon remains 0. So that is what we will have. Let's see whether at this stage it will work for us. So I'll just refresh and then click on the button. Okay. There's the validation form that we have not, a validation form function that we have not created. And we're going to do that right away. Okay. There's also something that we need to correct. Sorry. All these functions are supposed to be inside the check. All these are functions, please, are supposed to be inside the check. So I'll cover it again so that they can work together. Okay. trying to look at our code to see where we can find any error. As a result of that, I'm going to be moving these ones each inside. Let's find out where the error is coming from. All of them are now inside the input check input function. So it is yet to pick our forms. Let's keep checking the names that we give. F underscore name, ID is F underscore name. Okay, so let's check whether we did the right thing. Okay, you correct that first. Name, let us also check whether we'll have email. So I refresh again. Okay, so you can see first name cannot be empty, last name cannot be empty, email cannot be empty, password cannot be empty. So we have that already. Now set. So again, we collected all the ID and the classes. We assign them to variables so that we can use functions to run all this. Then we check our variables to our inputs to make sure that there's no nonsense value that somebody is entering, or there's no, in fact, this one checks whether there's an empty value. So set error now does this. Now, then the next thing we're going to look at is the set success. So for set success, we also do a function. I will call it set success for input. Set success for we take input and also serial. We take input and also serial. So the error message that we're working with, even though this time around it's not going to display error, it will now be serial dot inner HTML is equal to empty because we don't want it to display anything. Don't want it to display anything. Then secondly, we want the input dot style dot border to now be greenish. So 2 pixel solid green. And the failure icon, you just copy what is there. Failure icon will now opacity will not be 0. Success icon opacity will not be 1. And we come back to refresh. And if we put information in each of them and click, so it's telling me that it's not a correct email at gmail.com. So we have this already to tell you that everything is correct. But apart from the normal HTML check for email, there are other checks you can do. For instance, you can do a check for email by using regular expression. So let us do one more function. Is email. I want to check if it is an email, and this function is going to take in only the email. And it will return this a regular expression for checking email. If you want to understand it more, you can study regular expressions. a very long one. Let me just copy it. Email validation. So when you look at it in the video, you get more of it. To avoid mistake, let me just copy it and paste for us. Okay. So with this, you can also check your, you can check for the email. Let's see how it's being implemented here. So I'm going to refresh again. Okay. Okay. So this is our responsive form with validation in JavaScript. If you have a question, please ask. Do we have any question? Do you have any question? First of all, after finishing everything with our CSS, we came to the JavaScript. What we did first was to create a kind of a general variable that will dynamically house our IDs and classes, and then we store them. Our ID and our classes, we store them into those variables that we have, and then including our error messages, our icons, all the things that we're going to use. Then we created a function that adds event listener that will listen when the form button is being clicked. Then we check our input. That's the only thing we did here. And these last two functions are to show the success icon or to have in this form. We should have in this form. So if there is no question, I've not seen a hand that is raised. If there is no question, we can end today's class here. Okay.